In a small town nestled among rolling hills lived a man named Thomas, known far and wide for his unwavering faith. Thomas believed that his devotion to God was so strong that it could move mountains and part seas. He was convinced that his faith alone was enough to protect him from any harm that might come his way. One fateful summer, the skies opened up, unleashing a torrent of rain unlike anything the town had ever seen. The local creek, usually a gentle stream, began to swell ominously. As the waters rose, the town's emergency sirens blared, urging all residents to evacuate immediately. But Thomas remained calm, a serene smile on his face as he watched his neighbors frantically packing their belongings. "Why aren't you leaving, Thomas?" his friend Sarah called out, struggling to load her car. "The flood is coming fast." Thomas shook his head, his eyes twinkling with certainty. "My faith is strong, Sarah. I've prayed to God every day of my life. He will protect me. I'm staying right here." Sarah cast a worried glance at Thomas before driving away, the tires of her car splashing through the already flooded streets. As the water continued to rise, engulfing the lower parts of town, a police officer arrived at Thomas's door in a large, sturdy Jeep. "Sir, you need to come with me now," the officer insisted. "The situation is critical." But Thomas simply smiled and waved him away. "Thank you for your concern, officer, but I'm waiting for God to save me. He won't let me down." The officer hesitated, then reluctantly drove off, the Jeep plowing through the deepening water. Hours passed, and the floodwaters reached Thomas's porch. He was forced to retreat to the second floor of his home. As he gazed out the window, he saw a rescue boat approaching. "Hey there," the rescuer called out. "Hop in, we're getting everyone to safety." Thomas leaned out the window, still smiling despite the dire circumstances. "No need to worry about me," he shouted back. "I have complete faith that God will rescue me." The boat moved on, leaving Thomas alone in his rapidly flooding home. As night fell, the water had risen so high that Thomas was forced onto his roof. The wind howled around him, and rain lashed at his face, but still he held firm to his belief. Just then, he heard the whir of helicopter blades cutting through the storm. A spotlight illuminated Thomas, and a voice boomed from a loudspeaker. "This is your last chance. Grab the rope ladder, and we'll pull you to safety." But Thomas, shivering and soaked to the bone, shook his head. "God will save me," he yelled back. "I just need to keep believing." The helicopter hovered for a moment longer before flying away, leaving Thomas alone on his roof, surrounded by the raging floodwaters. Tragically, as the night wore on, the waters continued to rise. Thomas, still clinging to his faith, was swept away by the flood. When Thomas found himself at the pearly gates, he was confused and upset. He approached St. Peter with a heavy heart and asked, "I don't understand. I had absolute faith. Why didn't God save me?" St. Peter looked at Thomas with a mixture of compassion and exasperation. "My dear Thomas," he said gently, "God sent you a jeep, a boat, and a helicopter. What more did you expect?" This parable serves as a powerful reminder that faith, while essential, must be accompanied by action. God often works through the people and opportunities He places in our lives, rather than through grand supernatural gestures. The story of Thomas illustrates the age-old adage, "God helps those who help themselves." This doesn't mean that we should have faith or that we should rely solely on our own efforts. Rather, it suggests that we should be open to recognizing and accepting the help that God sends our way, even if it doesn't come in the form we expect. Too often, we can become so fixated on waiting for a dramatic, miraculous intervention that we overlook the everyday miracles happening around us, the kindness of a stranger, the timely advice of a friend, or the unexpected opportunity that arises. These can all be ways in which God is working in our lives. Thomas's story also serves as a cautionary tale about how pride can sometimes disguise itself as faith. While Thomas believed he was demonstrating unwavering trust in God, he was actually displaying a form of arrogance. He assumed he knew better than those trying to help him and believed that God would save him on his terms. True faith involves humility and the recognition that God's ways are not always our ways. It requires us to be open to guidance and help, even when it comes in unexpected forms. Thomas's steadfast refusal to accept help wasn't a sign of great faith, but rather a failure to recognize God's hand at work through the people around him. Moreover, this parable reminds us of the importance of discernment in our faith journey. While it's crucial to trust in God, it's equally important to use the wisdom and common sense He has given us. God doesn't expect us to be passive in the face of danger, or to ignore the resources He has provided. In our own lives, we may not face literal floods, but we often encounter challenges and obstacles that seem overwhelming. In these moments, it's natural to pray for divine intervention. However, we must also be willing to take action and accept help when it's offered. Perhaps you're facing a difficult decision at work, and you're praying for guidance. The answer might come through a conversation with a trusted colleague or an insightful article you stumble upon. Maybe you're struggling with a personal issue, and the help you need arrives in the form of a friend who reaches out at just the right moment. The key is to remain open and attentive, recognizing that God often works through the people and circumstances in our lives. This doesn't diminish the power of faith. Rather, it enhances it by acknowledging that God's wisdom can manifest in many ways. As we reflect on Thomas's story, let's challenge ourselves to broaden our understanding of how God might be working in our lives. Are there opportunities for growth or assistance that we've been overlooking? Have we been so focused on waiting for a dramatic sign that we've missed the subtle ways God has been guiding us? Remember, faith is not about testing God or demanding that He prove Himself on our terms. It's about trusting in His wisdom and being willing to act on the guidance He provides, even when it comes in unexpected forms. In conclusion, the parable of Thomas serves as a powerful reminder that faith and action go hand in hand. While we should never underestimate the power of prayer and trust in God, we must also be willing to recognize and accept the help He sends our way. By doing so, we open ourselves up to the countless ways in which God works in our lives, transforming ordinary moments into extraordinary blessings. Let us approach each day with eyes wide open, ready to see the miracles, both big and small, that surround us. And when challenges arise, may we have the wisdom to recognize God's hand at work, even if it doesn't come in the form we initially expected. For in the end, true faith is not just about waiting for miracles, but about participating in the miraculous work God is already doing in and around us.